These days, I recommend kids or young people that want to get into tech, they're going to have a degree. It's just so hard to not get a degree. I mean, you could try the way that I did, but it took me a long time to get where I wanted to be. You know, AI, people get a lot of scared, and obviously software engineers, it's going to do a lot of the beginning work, but it's going to change the way the jobs are and what jobs are out there. So again, if you're not evolving like I have throughout my career, not to say that, that's the only way to go, but you got to evolve. You got to move where the technology is moving. And if you stay in tech and you don't evolve, you're going to be left behind.
Oh, man. That's a gem right there. Welcome.
Yeah.
What up, D Hustler?
What is going on?
Chilling, my guy. Guess where we still at, bro?
Where?
We right on Market Street.
Oh, beautiful weather.
I can see the ferry building.
Beautiful weather.
Actually, I can see, what's that, Treasure Island? And I can see the East Bay from here. You know how we do. We always do big things when we come to San Francisco.
I like it.
And big shout out to San Francisco for hosting us for another great conversation. It's your boy BobbyD with Backstage with BobbyD. And I got a special guest for us.
Who you got?
Somebody I had a chance to chill with at Twitter,
Ooh.
When I'm working at Twitter, I rub shoulders with some great minds,
Okay.
Always somebody that has inspired me to do really cool things, and his journey, when y'all hear it, is going to be one for the books for sure. Let's bring to the stage Peter Toto. What up, Peter?
What's up, Bobby?
Peter.
How you guys doing? Glad to be here.
Peter come and hang out with the crew, bro.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Peter's hung out with the crew before.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've hung out.
Yeah. Bring up Peter's mic a little bit more.
Oh, yeah, we've hung out.
There we go. Peter's hung out with us before, and obviously we worked together for a number of years while working at Twitter. But let's get a quick introduction. Tell us where you're from, and how your story started in tech.
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in San Francisco. I'm Palestinian-American.
Big shout-outs to you. Big shout-outs.
Yeah, and, family came here, migrated here when they were young, like maybe 12 or 13 each, on both sides of the family.
Mm-hmm.
My father came here and got drafted at Vietnam War when he turned 18. That was like his intro to America.
Yeah.
It was a time, that period of that needed to happen, and he went. But my mother came here shortly after. They met here and eventually had me and my sister. We were born and raised here, so I guess it's considered first generation.
Yeah, you're first generation. Yeah.
So grew up in the city, went to private school, grammar school, went to private high school. Had the privilege. My father owned a grocery store all our lives.
He was on that hustle. Yeah, bring that over,
so
right?
It was after the war. He got into working at the airlines, and then eventually made his way to own a store. And that's all they knew over there back home is they just knew grocery stores. That's what my grandfather owned.
Yeah.
He owned that coming here, and my father expanded that, and that's how we went, and my father gave me a choice. He's like, you either go to school or you take over the store.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do a store. I didn't like working with my dad at that time. Me and him have two different views on things.
That usually happens, right?
I wasn't really big on school either. So I kind of just went into a trade school. I went to Heald. And that's kind of like, when I was a young kid, I used to like to tinker with things. I used to take apart my dad's Cadillac with the radio and just start tinkering with it. He used to get mad, but I'd play with it, take it apart, put it back together. Had a couple of pieces missing, but so from there I was like, you know what, I want to do a little trade, maybe get into electronics.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And it was a couple of years school. It was an AS degree. And basically, when I went to after the AS degree, it was really hard to find a job at that time.
Yeah.
But my uncle was working at Hewlett Packard, and he said that they're hiring temporary workers during the summertime.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, fine. So I went in and applied for a temporary assembler. I was making $7.75 an hour.
Wow.
This was back in the 90s, obviously, right? And
don't show your age too much now.
I'm not saying which 90s, but it was in the 90s. So anyway. So basically, I worked there as a temporary assembler, and then 6 months later, they hired me as a full-time technician. I got my first salary. I moved out to Santa Rosa, and it was great. It was like working in college. Everybody was college students. There was a lot of young people there. The campus was huge, had 20,000 employees. So my uncle pretty much set me up,
That's
to get into tech.
Big shout out to your uncle. Yeah. Big shout out to him for that. Right? Big shout out to your whole family, your pops. Especially their journey and then establishing themselves, and you're a San Francisco native. Y'all not normal out here, are you?
Not these days. No. And if the ones that are here, they moved away.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they got priced out.
Yeah.
Because I have a community here and a family here, it's a lot easier for me. But there's a lot of people that just couldn't do it.
No worries.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
But I will say when I first met Peter and he was a San Francisco native, I knew he knew all the spots. I knew he knew where to go to get what you needed to get. Right. Yeah, we had some good time. But before we jump into Twitter, so you worked at Hewlett Packard on the assembly line. Yeah. And for me, like just even hearing that part of the journey, it just gives our audience some insights into how your pathway can be into tech, right? Because we're going to talk about all the great places you've worked and all your great accomplishments. But that being a starting point, what kind of advice would you give to younger ones getting into the field right now?
I didn't go to, I didn't go the route of college. I just went to a 2-year degree, but I took what I can get. I was getting paid $8 an hour after working swing shift. I was starting with $7.75. So I took a temp assembler job because, that was going to get me in. And sometimes it doesn't matter what position it is. It's if in the company or the type of business that you want to be in, just take the opportunity that presents you in front of you and move forward,
Facts.
And that's, my career went from there, and I'll explain later on how it evolved. But I invented myself by pushing myself in as something that I didn't want to do or, had to do, and then eventually got there.
Yeah, big round of applause for Peter. And the other thing for those that may be your first time tuning in, thank you first off for pulling up. But there's going to be a nice little sound. Cue that sound up. That's the sound for the gems. If you hear that sound, that means Peter's dropping some gems. Rewind it a little bit and listen in.
If you're here for Bobby, there he goes right there.
You see what kind of love I get, D Hustle? Come on, my guy. No, but
we give it to you.
I appreciate you. But I'm cool with the 111 too. I want all the smoke. I want it all. But definitely some really good advice and insights into like getting started. And the cool thing is that being out here in the Bay Area, you have that opportunity to start at really, well-known companies like HP, Hewlett Packard, and then transition to other opportunities. So tell me where that took you from, HP, assembly line, getting a full-time offer, and then obviously where your journey took you from there.
Yeah, so I was sitting on the microelectronics floor. We were making microelectronics that go into the guts of like network analyzers, and they're used, for cell phone towers and fun stuff. It was original HP. It wasn't like computers and printers, although my parents thought I was working but it was basically, microwave stuff. And so I was like sitting there tinkering, doing gold bonding, doing circuit testing, tweaking knobs all day. And, it got to me, like I was there for like about 6 years between HP and Agilent because they merged. And my hands were like swollen at the end of the day. Like it was just puffed up. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this long term.
Yeah.
But so I started looking outside of the opportunity, and I wanted to get more into Silicon Valley because it's kind of slower paced in Santa Rosa. Mm-hmm. There's not too many opportunities over there, and I was living in Rohnert Park, and I'm in my 20s. I don't really want to do that.
He wants to be in the cities. He wants to be moving, right?
So, I kind of made my way there, buddy. I found a startup company that made indium phosphide wafers, and they were silicon lasers, and they were started by a couple of guys from Lawrence Livermore Lab, and the company was called Genoa. It didn't go anywhere, but they had a nifty idea of basically having it on the back of every computer, and it was basically an optical amplifier. And I learned so much there. And they hired me as a technician, but I was just like pretty much an engineer.
Yeah,
we went from I was the first non-PhD hired, and basically there was like 19 people. I think I was like 18 or 19. And then we got as high as 250 employees. I was running the lab for them. I was doing all the laser testing. I was building indium phosphide wafers to build lasers on. I mean, it was some really exciting stuff. I was always a nerd with that. I love to tinker things, but I wasn't always interested in doing it as a job.
Yeah.
It was just that I always was good at it, and that's why I always got into that. And eventually after the company kind of went on the red herring reports saying that we're going to be this big top tech company, and then it just collapsed. Finisar bought us out. They laid off everybody, and it was just a big mess. So I eventually had to make my way into real Silicon Valley. Well, I mean, Fremont it is, but I wanted to make my way into that, and that's kind of where I broke into Cisco, or Intel and Cisco.
Yeah.
And those two companies is where, Intel kind of gave me my break out of, working in a lab. So what happened there was, I don't want to get too much into detail, but I got hired as a technician, but that's when I moved into the business side, and that was a big turning point for me. I had a great manager there. His name was Sang Up Kim, and he's an amazing guy.
Big shout outs to him.
And another guy, Tom Youngin, and he was hiring an operations program manager role, but I was a technician, and I had no business sense whatsoever. So Sang was like, you know what, maybe I could help you out, and I could push you and recommend you, because an operations program manager role, you need to know the technical side, and you need to know the business side.
Yeah.
So because I was lacking the business, Tom took a chance on me.
Yeah.
And that's where my role just skyrocketed, because if you're not in engineering, when you're in engineering and you don't have a master's degree, or if you don't have an advanced degree, you're really not going to grow much. You're not going to do the good stuff. You're going to be sitting in a lab for a long time. So getting in on the business side was huge for me. As soon as I got the operations program manager role, I learned supply planning, demand planning. I learned production. I learned how to build in a manufacturing floor. We were building hundreds of thousands of optical transceivers for Intel at the time when they were in optics. Yeah. And so it was still the field that I was in, learning from the startup and coming through. But now I'm learning the business side.
The business side of it.
And that set me up to Cisco. Cisco gave me a great opportunity. I grew very far at Cisco. I went from, just a normal supply planner. That was my first real business job. Yeah. And then I became a supply planner manager. So I started managing the team that I was on. And then I became like a sales and operations planning manager, which was like, I learned that you don't have to have a team of people to be a high level contributor. Yeah, yeah. And that's the first time that they gave me a role that I didn't have people report to me, but I had the influence. I was owning like the operating plan. I was talking to the GM about their P&L statements. It was a really high level plan. And these guys, there's only like 3 GMs at Cisco, and they hold billions of dollars worth of business. Correct. It was a great opportunity, and they actually liked it so much that they moved me to Norway.
Oh, yeah, I do remember this part of your story.
Yeah, so that's when I lived.
How long did you live there?
It was supposed to be a couple of years. I only stayed there for a little less than a year, mainly because there was some personal issues that happened. With my family, and I ended up having to come back. But they over there, they moved me out there. They set me up. They did an acquisition, Tandberg, so it was on the collaboration space. And we basically did video presence. So that's what they were doing at that time. And it was unheard of back then. For sure. That's when WebEx wasn't existing.
Exactly, right? like Zooms, right?
Yeah, so none of that stuff existed back then. Yeah. And so that was their niche to get into it, and it was a collaboration space. So I basically moved out there and helped Ciscoize them into it. And then, eventually I had to come back and leave Cisco, but it was unfortunate. But I ended up taking like a year off. And that's when I started getting into what's big right now? Social media. Yeah. And I want to reinvent myself again. So I first got into tech, and then I got into the business side. And I was like, I want to get into social media. And I went after social media companies. Yeah. And that's when I found Twitter, Facebook, and so that's when we started working together at Twitter. Yeah. And it was just out of a whim. I applied online. They liked the fact that I had the supply planning background. Even though everybody in that team was sourcing, they wanted a planner to help plan that. So my first niche into there was the planning role. For
sure. And let me encourage you all to definitely tune in to what Peter's talking about in terms of his iteration to get to Twitter, and also the transitions from being an electronic engineer, soldering boards, to eventually developing a skill set on the business side. But one thing that really caught my attention when you were giving us that insights is that it was definitely the support of others that opened up the door to see your skill sets and say, hey, you have the skill sets and opportunity. Let me give you a chance to go to bat. And then obviously it's to the races. Once Peter's a tinker. Once you put 2 and 2 together, you're running with it, right? So it's definitely for those that are thinking about getting into tech or transitioning to tech, just understand that getting to these companies like Twitter, which we'll talk about even more companies that he's talking about, going through Intel, going to Cisco, utilizing broader skills than just tech skills to get opportunities as such to be in the field of engineering and technology. So big shout outs to you, Peter. And I know your family is very proud of your journey and all that you've done. And even me, right? I remember one of the first time you and I met, they were like, hey, we're going to be bringing a new person that's going to manage, supply, right? Or the operations and all that stuff around supply. And just to give you all some more context, Twitter, a lot of people didn't know that we actually build our own data centers. We build our own servers. We obviously had OEM and products that we order from other companies, but there is a specific team in our organization that managed all of that, because we're at scale, we're hyperscale, sorry, meaning that we're ordering hundreds of thousands of one set of servers or a few of these buildings, a multi-million-dollar building, and Peter sat at those tables helping making those decisions, right? One of the cool things about our journey at Twitter also is that was before IPO is when we joined, right?
I joined a little bit after.
A little bit after?
Yeah,
okay.
I think you joined before me.
Okay. I thought you was at the party. I was remembering. I thought I seen Peter there jumping around at the party too.
Yeah, I thought everybody was happy like the months I started. And I was like, I wonder why.
You wonder why everybody's happy, right?
I was happy too.
But it was a great opportunity to work at a company like that and also to run into somebody like me. Hopefully I did. You see? Who's at the switchboard? D Hustle.
Peter told me to hit it. He told me to hit it.
No, he did. That's funny. Yeah. But jumping into our time at Twitter, one of the cool things that I enjoyed was, number one, your experience out here in the Bay, right? You're a San Francisco native, but also have worked at Cisco, Intel, HP, and have had that experience. Is that you also brought into our conversations a different perspective of how we should build and develop systems. So one of the ones that came to mind, and I was putting these notes together, I was like, man, I hope Peter remembers SupplyBird. Do you remember SupplyBird?
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing it. I don't remember the artifacts of it. But yeah, I remember.
So tell us a little bit more about SupplyBird.
Yeah, so we were using spreadsheets, and it was very confusing. And I suggested to Yogi, who's another great manager, by the way.
Big shout outs to Yogi.
Yeah, so he was a great guy, and he still is. So I said, we want to buy a tool. Let's buy a tool. And Twitter wasn't big on buying tools. Facts. They wanted to build everything inside. Yeah. They had a bunch of software engineers. Like, why do you need a tool, right? So ERP systems and things like that, they're not very easy to make, but we wanted to do like a supply inventory of our, we went by fleet. The fleet management team was part of our team. That was
my team. What up, fleet management? We still out here.
Yeah. So, and it was basically an inventory of all the types of servers that are out there. Twitter was big on a lot of different SKUs. Yeah. A whole lot of different SKUs and just different parts, and like high mem, extra high mem, storage and all that stuff. And this was before like data centers were really kind of much more defined now than they were back then. And so there was a lot out there. So we had to really kind of understand the inventory levels and of such, and then we want to rework them to be other if the services shift over to this or shift over to that. So we needed some kind of automated way of doing that stuff. And the first step was to learn kind of really what our supply is. And so they actually tasked me to work with a program manager and a software engineer to literally work on building a supply inventory through a tool. Yeah. And we called it SupplyBird. And that's kind of how it adopted, and that's what you guys use for your fleet management. For sure. To see what services need to shift over and so forth. Yeah. So it was exciting because I didn't really build anything before. I'm not a product engineer, but I had the background of exactly what supply looks like. Correct. The software engineer had a look of what software looks like, and we kind of intertwined and made it happen.
Yeah, big shout outs to you. Give him a round of applause, because this is the part that I think sometimes, Peter, you don't give yourself enough credit for, because your insights into how to do it were so valuable for what the product results were going to be, right? Because like you said, we're software engineers just thinking about the code, not actually understanding the flow, or more specifically, what the real flow is. Because we piece things together, but then when you came in, it was like, yo, why you have this here? Why you have that there? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And that was from your perspective. So awesome. That tool itself was one of the first tools that I had an opportunity to integrate with, because my tool that I worked on was called AutoBird. Yeah. And AutoBirds, and this is just for those that are listening in, and go check out some of our old podcasts. I've been dropping gems about AutoBird for a minute. But AutoBird became our automated provisioning system, right? Where we talked to SupplyBird and AutoBird, and basically all of the things that Peter knew and knowledge became programs, and all the things that I knew and knowledge became a program, and we had those programs talking to each other. And basically what we did was streamline the process so that after Peter's done all of the supply stuff, making sure parts were the right ones ordered, making sure that they're landing in our data center at this day, that they're going to get plugged in. Shout out to all of the data center engineering, data center technicians that did all the heavy lifting. They used to put them them in the spot, plug them in, turn the systems on, and then walk away because Autobird kicked in, right? Yeah. And it made that system for me like one of the first times that I could really align how automation could really take you from automating yourself out of a job, literally, right?
That was a point of it. Right?
Yeah,
that
right.
was supposed to be the point of it.
Yeah, right.
It never happened, but it might have happened, but
we definitely got there, bro.
You stayed longer than I did, but yeah.
But that was like the bigger picture, and actually one of the reasons why I joined Twitter at the time was we was working on solving those really hard problems, right? And then when you came on, it was more or less helping us figure out another piece that we were missing, which was the supply side of the house. But there was this other tool that you and I worked on, and it was just like a side conversation. We named it "Left at the Altar Bird." Do you remember that tool?
I remember we did something, but
no worries. I got you, player. So we called it Lata Bird, Lata bird, right? But it was left at the altar bird.
Something like that.
And the reason why we created it was we lost track of machines that were in the fleet, right? There was like so many computers that either got lost between the cracks or whatever, and it ended up being millions of dollars of computing resources that we were able to pick up. And the reason why I bring this up is that for me and you, it was just a conversation like this. Like Peter was like, yo, I got this problem. Like every time I'm finding these machines, and I'm like, all right, tell me a little bit more about it. And I'm there listening attentively, right? Yep. And then you're able to take from the seat of the users, the workflow and product, and feed me the engineer, and then the results for Ladderbird.
Yeah, I mean, that was the pro of working in the office. I mean, I know people hate it. Like people love to do work from home now because it's much more flexibility, but you can't have those conversations working over Zoom. And it was a water. We went to lunch and we were talking, and we chit chat, and we said what's really bugging you in your business, what's bugging ours, and we talked about underutilized servers. And that popped up. So just being there in the office together really helped out in that situation.
Plus, we got to have lunch together.
I mean, we had the best. At the time, we had the best cafeteria.
Facts in the whole city, right?
Yeah, it was.
People used to come far and wide to come into our kid. Even D Hustle pulled up at the office.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
You got to see the sky view, and then definitely the good food.
Good food. The meatballs.
That's what you remember.
Sweetest meatballs.
Yeah. Oh man! But that type of experience that we had. Of working together, let me just tell you, I really enjoyed it, my guy, because it was definitely like an opportunity for me to get in terms of developing more skills, because I was moving away from systems engineering but more into the software engineering to automate ourselves out of a job. But it also became the foundation because after you left, I took those same skills to another team and basically automated everything over there. You know what I'm saying?
Very nice.
So I never had a chance to tell you this, but our time together really did influence my growth and development at Twitter. So I want to say thank you so much, my guy.
I appreciate that, man. You impacted me as well. I remember when I was making a decision to leave Twitter, it was a short period of time. I mean, I had everything at Twitter. I had a great manager. I had a great team. I loved working with our team.
And I was there. I mean,
Bobby was there. And I started throwing it out there, like, Facebook opportunity came about, and I was like, am I really contemplating this? And Bobby was like, put it out there, and if it's something that is going to make it happen, it's going to happen. And I put it out there, and it did happen. And it was up to, really Bobby. Now, it wasn't ended up being the right move. Probably, I don't know. I mean, everything should I have stayed at Twitter? So that's kind of where my career things, I started to move a little bit more often than I wanted to. And I have absolutely no regrets in life. Listen, I took a journey, I took a chance, and I took an opportunity. I became aggressive in my job, in my career. And I wanted to really fight for that next role and that next opportunity. And it just seemed like, social media was really big at that time. And, I did make that move to Facebook, and things fell in place that I ended up having to leave and then going to another company and another company. And just, unfortunately, the last several years I did hop around a little bit. But again, I have absolutely no regrets, because every single company I went to has taught me and learned me a whole new skill set that I could apply to the next one.
Yeah.
I mean, at Facebook, what we built? We built an inventory system in our tools that was mocking SupplyBird. Same concept. We did it for network equipment. I worked on the network side of the business, and we wanted somewhere where they do the PO. They placed the PO. Facebook didn't want to do their own. They didn't want to buy tools.
Correct.
They wanted to build their own tools. So that's what we did. And I'm not sure if they're still using it till today. Maybe they have progressed over there because now they have a whole different department. But back then, we used a tool that we put together with another software engineer.
Yeah.
And then, even to my current status, I'm at Airtable now, and Airtable.
Big shout outs to you, brother.
Airtable is great. I never used Airtable before Airtable. We actually had it at a previous company, and we didn't use it the way that we should have been using it. I kind of used it as a Excel sheet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know the capabilities. Now working at Airtable, I'm starting to help build things, and I'm not a software engineer. The whole point of Airtable is low code, no code, right?
Yeah.
And it's basically allowing me to build dashboards or build automation or things that assist my job and help my business stakeholders to get their job done. And it's a great way of doing that and running your business. So you build these apps up, and I'm learning so much. My manager's manager, she knows a lot about Airtable. She's been there forever, and she's teaching me a lot. And I'm learning from the source.
Yeah.
And it's another resource that I have now that's coming in, and that's what the great opportunity for me is. That's why every company presented a new opportunity for me. It's been amazing.
Oh, big shout outs to you, Peter. And the cool thing that I think, and I hope the audience heard this, is that going from one company to the next, you're going to be taking the skill that you learned from the other company to the new company. Yeah.
I mean, when you go to college, you're going to learn the basics. You're going to learn the foundation. It's going to get you in the door. These days, I recommend kids or young people that want to get into tech. They're going to have a degree. It's just so hard to not get a degree. I mean, you could try the way that I did, but it took me a long time to get where I wanted to be. And it took some pushing and some and
some hustle. Yeah.
I mean, some grit. I had to take a step back to move forward. I had to move around. And I didn't want to always do that. When I was at Intel and Cisco, I stayed a long time, 6-7 years. My uncle was there for 30 years. I mean, that's kind of unheard of, these days. But it's again, absolutely no regrets. I learned a lot, and in every position or every place that I've gone, I've learned to help me scale in the new role. Yeah, and that's all what it's about. And so, I mean, if you should get a degree. I tell my niece and nephew all the time, you have to go out and get a degree nowadays because it's so competitive and it's so hard. It's not even going to get you in the door these days. If I was to try to get my position at Cisco, the sales and operations planning manager that I was doing, I needed a master's degree for that. I wouldn't have been able to get my own job. Yeah, if it wasn't for me building myself up within the ranks. Yeah. So, that's kind of where it's at sometimes. And at least if you get that foundation, you don't have to build yourself up to the ranks. It'll get you at least somewhere. Yeah. And then you could go from there higher up.
Yeah. But I also definitely feel like it just requires a different type of person to take the scenic route, right? Yeah. Because I know for you, like you had to be on the grind, you had to be eye open and definitely willing to make transition and make moves. Like how much value was that for you during your journey? I mean,
it was huge, right? I mean, along the way, I could have progressed and stayed. If I stayed with the same company and continued moving up, it would have been a slow progression, but it would have got me at a higher role. But I've learned that, it's not always about being a director or being a VP. There's so many roles that are high impact roles and even high paid roles that have as much responsibility or even more responsibility without building it with a team because you're trying to influence others to do what you need to get done. Yeah. And it's harder sometimes. And that's what I love. It's not about like I want to have a director of, 50 people reporting to me. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, would I like to have that opportunity eventually? Maybe, yeah. I've managed people. I've done that, but I've taken a step back and said, you know what? I think I'm better at, really driving initiatives and projects that are really more impactful. And that's sometimes, sometimes middle managers it's a hard role. And, sometimes they're the first to go, unfortunately. And so you got to show value. And that's what I'm trying to do here at Airtable. I didn't go in for a fancy job. We're a very small procurement organization. I followed my manager over, which is another great manager. I've had some really great managers along the way. And, shout out to him. And so basically I followed him over, and we're working on some good stuff. We're building procurement. We're pretty much starting it from scratch and building it out and growing the company and supporting the company. So, and we're using Airtable to do it without the software engineers. We don't build our own data centers over there, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's so we got to evolve and move around to what it is, and it's SaaS products, and it's a lot of SaaS tools and marketing and to go to market and being able to procure tools for those teams are a whole different new ballpark for us.
Facts.
I was always a hardware guy. You know, I knew hardware very well. Software took a long time for me to learn, like knowing what Databricks does or what AWS does, and all these things, like what the cloud is and everything. I mean, obviously worked at data center companies, but the services that AWS provides, they have names for them, and
correct.
Different than what we are doing internally, right? So it's knowing about the service and how to negotiate a complex cloud deal,
multi-million-dollar deals,
multi-year cloud deals. Those are huge, and those are high impactful. I mean, they go right to the CEO, right? Yeah. So it's not like paper dollars; it's real dollars. That you're making impact on. And so when you save it, you save it.
Man, the thing that I'm taking away from this is one gym that I'm definitely hit the gym mark for this is Peter has had great managers that has basically given him the opportunity to continue to ascend, right? Yeah. And we talked about the value of networking and maintaining those relationships, but also when you have great managers like our previous guest, Patrick Newman. Big shout out to Patrick Newman. What's up, player?
Patrick.
And definitely the advice that he given about being a mentor and a leader in the organization is being those resources for people that want to climb, right? But then also as you're climbing, you're giving back too, and you can see the value behind it. So I really do appreciate you, shouting that out. And then the other thing that I think sometimes you don't stand on enough, Peter is like multi-million-dollar. Like when he looks at spreadsheets, it's not thousands of dollars. It's not even hundreds of thousands. It's millions of dollars of assets and decisions that he's helped support making. And then obviously this is data that you're giving to your executive team. Yeah. So it's like when you're on your journey in tech, it could be broad, right? You're on the business side of tech and you are financially supporting the decisions that are making based on the data that you're able to present. And now that you're doing no coding stuff, I'm so excited about this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's evolving. I mean, things are evolving. Now the big thing is AI, And, I'm not trying to jump on the AI, bandwagon here, but, Airtable right now is huge on AI. We use AI in our tools. We just launched a big AI initiative, and I mean, if you look it up on Airtable, and it uses all the major, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, and the different, you could choose which type of AI you want to use in the tool itself, which is amazing. So it's integrating it, it's evolving, and like you said, you could tell it what to do, and it'll figure it out for you, and kind of hit the baseline, and then that's how you get going. Yeah. Instead of you trying to do the automation in the building, you just type in a few clicks. You just got to have the good, what do they call it?
The prompt?
The prompt, yeah.
Yes.
So you got to have a good prompt. I heard that's a new job now.
Prompt engineering, right? Can you believe that?
I was like, oh my God, look at that. I would have never thought of that a few years ago.
Right.
So, it's amazing. And you just tell it what to do. And the better you get at telling it what to do and to be more specific, it's kind of like coding. But, I took my first coding class a long time ago.
What year?
I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say what language it was. But the fact that I sat down in the class and the teacher said, write down how many steps it will take to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. When I was done in like 5 minutes and I put 5 sentences down and everybody else is like drilling it down, I realized I'm just not into coding. And I was like,
because you got to get down deep like that, right?
Get into that level, right? And I mean, with these prompts now, you don't have to get into too much level, but enough to describe it, to get it to do what you want, and then you evolve it. So it's kind of like high level coding, kind of, but it's so much easier to use, and it's not about replacing jobs. I mean, AI, people get a lot of scared, and obviously software engineers, it's going to do a lot of the beginning work, but it's going to change the way the jobs are and what jobs are out there. So again, if you're not evolving like I have throughout my career, not to say that that's the only way to go. But you got to evolve. You got to move where the technology is moving. And if you stay in tech and you don't evolve, you're going to be left behind.
Oh man, that's a gem right there. Thank you so much for that, Peter. And I think you like hit that thing a few times. You like dropped like 3-4 gems in one comment. That's why why do y'all think I hung out with Peter all the time? Because he's dropping them. I'm right there picking them up right next to him.
Me and Bobby, we both love the tech. We love the hustle. We love, I mean, I like I said, I don't have any regrets, in life. I could I have gone a different road on a different crossroad? Yeah, but I mean, I got where I am from the grit and the grind and learning and evolving and building relationships and just getting it done. And, it's not just getting the right manager. I mean, when I interview and when I find people, I interview them too, right? I mean, that's another thing that young people don't realize is that it's not only an interview for them to be interested in you, it's an interview for you to be interested in them. Thanks. And I've done a lot of interviews, trust me. And so, I mean, it's really, an opportunity for you to know whether that's the right place to go to.
Roger that. That's some really good insights there. And I think the thing that I'm really taking away from this is, number one, skill set wise, is that you always got to keep learning. You always got to keep iterating. The old days and the old programming languages, they're not even here no more, right? Mm-hmm. You got to be moving forward. Number two is not being afraid of this new tool called AI, which you are right, language is becoming a new programming language. But the cool thing that I think, especially for us old heads, is that we have so much experience that we can describe things with more details that a younger engineer or someone new don't have or know, right? And then for me, like the third thing in general is like that grit, that hustle, that mindset that you have to have, and not have any regrets. Just know that it's a part of the path for you to get to where you got to go. Embrace it and keep moving forward. Yeah. That's what's up, Peter. Yeah. Peter's my guy, bro. Yeah. And this is how we used to chill every day, go to lunch. Obviously, we used to have fun at the office, some good times. But definitely, these type of conversations are those that were really foundational for me as I continue to iterate, right? Yeah, yeah. So in terms of like Airtable, which I like the product. I really do. It's like one of my preferred database services that I like to use when I'm recommending, because it just has a very easier interface and not too much barrier for you to kind of understand what's going on. And you were saying that you're doing some no coding stuff. So are you building like applications similar to like SupplyBird type things, or are you doing more simpler, smaller pieces?
It pertains more to the procurement process. You could have it read contracts. You could basically have it feed in the contract, point out certain things in the contract using AI and say, where's the payment terms? How much is what is the start and end dates of these terms? Are there renewal clauses in these terms? There's specifics in terms of contracts that we want to look at to make sure that they're in the benefit of the company, right? And so instead of me searching through 100 pages, you can use AI and Airtable to basically pull that information in, summarize it for you, and then do what you want. And so instead of me building a software to do it, I build an app in Airtable and use the AI capabilities to help build that. Yeah. Right? I mean, there's so many things that I think it just opens the door up for that. And I'm learning more about the tool for me to learn more how I can make it more efficient with the business that I'm in.
Man, you're going to be Airtable spokesperson soon. Sponsored by.
It's a great tool. I mean, I think the people that use it and learn how to use it and know how it works, they love it. So it's I mean, I stand behind the companies that I worked at. I mean, I've worked at some really good high tech companies, and they produce really good products. There's really smart engineers there that work there, and like you, Bobby. I mean,
look at that.
I mean, you I mean, I'm not snubbing noses or anything, but I mean, your team did a lot at Twitter. I mean, in the short period I was there, but you were there for a lot longer than I was. I mean, you guys handled it. That's a nightmare to manage all those SKUs. I mean, when I left, and I was like, wow, this is not normal what we did over there, right? Yeah. So I mean, but we had to evolve the business. Twitter was seasonality, right? Yep. The World Cup, these big events that are happening worldwide. Remember saying like New Year's Eve was really big in Japan.
Yeah, that was the biggest outages we usually have. Yeah. Was New Year's Eve.
The big whale that came up and the issues with the site coming down. I think who broke the site? Ellen DeGeneres when she spoke it, and we weren't ready for it. I mean, so we had to really do some good things out there back then to make sure that it gets done to not have that happen again. Yeah, and, it just stands for the engineers that were there. I mean, everybody was learning at that time.
I mean, I'm not going to take all of the credit, but Thank you, Peter.
Just to give the fans out there that are listening in, I have not paid Peter to see any of this stuff.
No, I mean,
this is coming from inside.
It was the whole fleet management team. I remember Fayez and
Fayez, Audie, Carter, Robert Pulley. Robert Pulley's traveling the world right now. Nikhil ended up going to Uber. Fayez went to Uber. Audie's gone from Credit Karma. Robert Pulley, he's traveling the world now. He's taking some time off. And we were the squad, though. We were holding it down. And then we had great partners to work with, which was really cool because normally we don't really sit next to the people that are ordering the supplies or the next table that was there with the people that were designing the software, right? Like that's how close it was. And then we had a really chill, director at the time too, right? So it definitely allowed us to, build a better relationship so that we could really create some really cool stuff. And those were real world level type challenges that I didn't even know existed until I worked at a place like Twitter too.
I mean, every time I heard something that they wanted us to figure out, we're like, oh my God, I don't know if that's possible. And then we figure it out. And that's what tech does. I mean, it evolves fast, it moves fast. And if anybody wants to break into tech, be ready to move fast. I've seen people come from other companies. They come from fintech, or they come from like a health company or pharmaceutical company. They don't move as quick as we do. Pharmaceutical, it takes 10 years to evolve a product to production, and we're iterating as we go.
We're deploying every hour almost, literally.
Yeah. Shout out to Peter and that crew out there. Doing big things.
Yes, sir. And big shout outs to Yogi. You mentioned Yogi. I haven't seen Yogi in a minute.
Great. I still keep in touch with him on LinkedIn. I just
is he at
chat with him.
Huh? He's at NVIDIA?
I think he's at Pure Storage now.
There was somebody else that went to NVIDIA. But, I mean, we got friends maybe at every single big tech company, at least one person. Yeah. And that's the other thing about being out here. So tell us about, I know being a native, there's a lot of people coming into the city, and the reason why we come over here is to experience the tech experience. And this is my always recommendation to my mentees is if you're in tech and the opportunity presents itself, come to San Francisco to experience what it is to be here. But you've been here since day one. From when, how has that been? Seeing the evolution of tech from when you were growing up to where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to move anywhere to see it. I mean, it was in my back door. It was in my backyard. And I'd say, we have a great community here of friends and family that I did growing up. I know a lot of people from high school days, from grammar school days that I still see that are still in the Bay Area. And then I have my foundation on my family. A lot of my family's here. My family is huge, right? And not my direct family, just my cousins and uncles and everything.
Your community.
So the community is really big, and so we have a lot of contacts. My dad owned grocery stores, so he knows a lot of police officers. He knows a lot of firemen. He knows a lot of people that worked in the Mission District and the Potrero Hill District. And I built a foundation of building relationships early on in life. Working at a grocery store, helping my dad out. That's how you become accustomed to talking to people. Yeah. And I had that privilege to be able to do that. And that's what helped me later on in life and to build relationships, because all you did was talk at a grocery store, and you talk to customers and you listen to their problems. They listen to your problems sometimes, and growing up in that environment, you also learn the grit, the hustle, the grind. Yep. I had to fill those refrigerators, make sure the stock, make sure the papers were out, make sure, I had to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to open my dad. So that's the reason why I didn't do it. So I love my dad and everything, but, me and him working, it was just, we saw different views when I was younger, and I'm kind of glad because it helped me pursue something else. And,
for sure.
And it got me where I want it to be today. So
Big shout outs to that, Peter. Big shout outs to that. That's what's up. Well, we are coming close to the end of our conversation, my guy. I think we've been really running at it for, it looks like 40 minutes, 40 plus minutes on the clock. I told you it's going to be a great conversation. But this is an opportunity for you to give some last words of advice. And you've been giving gems and advice from the beginning of the conversation. So if there is anything that you wanted to reiterate, but also just leave something impactful, this is your opportunity, Peter.
Yeah, I'd say, people who want to break into to tech or even just anything in life, it's all about building relationships. You have to go after what you want. And you said it to me at Twitter. Put it out there. Get it out there. I remember specifically sitting down on lunch telling me, Peter, put it out in the world and let it find you. And if it's the right thing to do, then just go after it. And that just resonated with me a lot. I mean, I appreciate that. And I've followed that through, and I say, this is what I want, and this is my next step, and this is what I'm going to do. And I get there. I try to get there as much as I can, and I don't stop until I do. And so and I built relationships. I built foundations. I've met people. I've learned. I'm on LinkedIn, and really, I try to show off what I'm doing, but also help people learn. I'm in different groups on there, showing people how to handle procurement, addressing questions, and really trying to evolve. And these aren't out in the open; they're in internal groups that people don't know about. So. Yeah. And you're building relationships when you do that. So when there's a position open for something, or if there's an opportunity or something, you're people are aware. Oh my God, that guy knew his stuff. So if you know something and you have a good skill set, try to get there on those groups on LinkedIn or other means, and then build your network from there. And that's going to help you find something later on. I honestly believe that. I mean, it's. You got to make it happen. It's not going to come to you.
Facts. Wow. Cue up the music, D. Yeah. I don't know if y'all been listening, but there's a button that says rewind. Press the rewind button to go back. We got triggers and signs. What's the sound beat, D? All right, there we go. Whenever you heard that, that means my guy, Peter Toto, was dropping some gems. I want to say, first of all, thank you so much, Peter, for pulling up with Backstage with BobbyD. It wasn't that bad, was it? No, I told you it was going to be chill, my guy. He was worried when he first came in. And he seen the setup. He was like, oh, snap, they're doing big things. But as always, Peter, I like to make sure that the setting, the mood, the environment is exactly what we need. And definitely want to say I appreciate you pulling up. And definitely for you audience, thank y'all so much for tuning in to Backstage with BobbyD. We on our next stop to New York City. Yeah, we pulling up back to NYC. We're gonna have another set of guests that pull up. And as always, thank y'all so much for tuning in. My guy D Hustle.
What's going on?
Last words, player.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Roger that. Holla at your boy. It's BobbyD.